This is our innovation session. Really, this is on the future-proof of value exchanges, how to future-proof value exchanges. We're going to dig into a lot of examples, talk about what value exchanges are, how they work for publishers, and so let's just jump into it. So what ails publishers today? Publishers are being challenged by wave after wave of big tech changes. It is a tough time. First and foremost, cookie deprecation. The malaise hits Safari, now it's hitting Chrome. We also have search results pages, which are referring less and less traffic to publishers every single month, every single quarter. And SEO just isn't what it used to be. We also saw publishers build their businesses and build their audiences within the social media platforms. Because that's what they were told to do, and it worked for a long time. And now those same social media platforms are tweaking their algorithms to not refer traffic out. Facebook traffic is down 50%. And then, this is all scrambled by AI. We don't know what's going to happen, but I think the smart money is basically saying some of these things are going to get worse with AI. I think that big tech is going to spend more time building engagement mechanisms and widgets and tools and experiences within their walls so people spend less time off of their platforms.
Yeah, this is great. And also, Elliot, one of the things that I think is a big challenge for publishers is really that there is this gap between consumer trust, publishers, and even marketers. And, the central force that really kicked that off is consumer privacy. And, that started as a result of the ad ecosystem losing trust in the consumers and the users. And so, users now are very cautious about where and when they enter their data and their information. And so at this point, the biggest challenge is that pubs need to convince the consumers that they're worthy of sharing their personal information, and also that the pubs are going to treat their data ethically and transparently as well.
Yeah. So publishers now are seeking to build more direct customer relationships. Why? Because they've been disintermediated by big tech. And when you collect an email, you now can control the relationship you have with the user. You collect, and also now you can direct and sculpt traffic. You have a reason to get people back to your site. You can present that to them directly. You're not mediated by third parties. And so there's a big push right now for that to happen. Now, the challenge is, on the flip side, is most users don't go to websites to build relationships with publishers. Sorry, that's just not what people are looking for. They're just looking for content. They just want to consume their content. So the question really for us and for publishers today is, what sort of value exchanges can publishers offer consumers? And that's kind of what we're seeking to answer here.
Yeah, and I think the biggest thing really with value exchange is it needs to be trusted and transparent, as you were talking about here. Trusted meaning it needs to be that direct relationship with the consumer and the publisher, and the consumer needs to feel comfortable with what data is being stewarded. And transparent, of course, you as a publisher need to explain to the users what is their data going to be used for and what are they going to get in exchange for submitting that information.
Yep.
Yeah.
So let's just define things clearly. Value exchange involves offering something of value to users in exchange for desired actions like registration, email signups, data consent. Why are value exchanges so critical? Because users today are more data savvy and protective of their personal information than ever before. And so a good value exchange provides clear perceived benefits to users, making them more willing to engage. So let's jump into the types of value exchanges. So we've sort of categorized here value exchanges in the 6 major categories. There are more beyond this, but this is a first good cut at some of the most salient ones. So let's just jump through some of those. Achievement. This is giving people intangible benefits. Intangible benefits can have a big impact on behavioral changes, giving people things like points, giving people status, giving them recognition for engagement can be very, very effective in terms of sculpting behavior. Access. Talked a little about this before, unlocking exclusive content, giving people access to events or early product releases. Discounts. Familiar with these, get immediate financial benefits like % off, free shipping, etc. Rewards, which is a space that Bonbon plays in, giving people tangible rewards like gifts, samples, and free trials. Impact, allowing, contributing basically charitable causes on behalf of consumers tied to their engagement, making them feel good about what they're doing. And then finally here, personalization, giving users tailored content or product recommendations based on what data you've collected and what preferences they've stated.
Yeah, and at LiveRamp on the ATS team, we partner with various companies that handle all these different types of value exchanges. And so that is sort of the value is that you can come and try different strategies with various partners, whether it's, achievement, impact, et cetera, a commenting widget, you name it, but there are plenty of ways to test this out, and various partners to work with in that front.
Thanks, Lucy. I want to walk you through quickly some examples I think that we found to be really salient and really interesting, just to give some context. And this is from Billboard.com, and I think this is a fantastic example of not asking for too much up front and making data collection progressive. So let's start with the left-hand side, which is the first user experience here. There's a really clear benefit statement. This is a daily briefing on what matters in the music industry. Like, it couldn't be any more clear. If you want access to what matters, you got to basically sign up for this newsletter. This will be delivered right to your door. And the step two, which is really interesting, is where the data, the additional data is asked for. Once a user provides very simple amounts of data, just our email, and here there's more rich data that's being asked for your first name, last name, zip code, country, and then some questions that are very relevant to the services that Billboard provides for them to be much more personalized. And so really like this sort of two-tiered approach and making it progressive. This is an example from Financial Times. It's registration before a paywall. We see a lot of publishers just come really hard at consumers, and they basically say you need to just pay, otherwise just beat it. And the challenge with that is it shoots your ad business in the foot. And a lot of times we see siloed departments. You have the ad business here, the subscription business here. They're not really talking together. They're not working as a team. And even just hard paywalling people is not the best way to get subscriptions. Really, what you want to be doing here is what Financial Times has done, which is create limited access value exchange, where they're saying, hey, you can read this article for free by registering. And then you'll get access to more with no credit card. And we'll give you eight thought-provoking articles a day to choose from our editors. And that's the benefit you get. And it's really clear. It's really compelling. Once you've registered, now Financial Times has a prospecting database, a relationship with you to then upsell you into paid subscriptions. The other benefit they get is they actually get impressions to sell through their ad business. And I think the big problem a lot of publishers do, and who are doing paywalls, is they basically think of every consumer as the same. Like, hey, listen, you got to pay or you got to go. And there is a tier of consumers who are never going to pay, and those need to be segmented out and you'd be given ad products like the 8 free articles. This is from Medium. It's really interesting. It's a simplicity wins. It's a clear, no nonsense value exchange. It's like, hey, you want to read the rest of the story? Just sign up for a free account. 2 buttons in, you're done. I think the design is really elegant, and it makes tons of sense for the consumer. There's not a lot you're giving up here, and you're going to get something you want right there. On the personalization front, this is an interesting offer from True Citrus here. Data is exchanged for a better user experience. They're basically saying, wait, it's not your birthday. Tell us when it really is, and we'll be sure to send you a gift on your special day. Mark our calendar. Like, that's a really interesting call to action. Mark our calendar. Give me your email, give me your birthday, and we'll give you something back in return. And then I think a lot of us have seen some of the gamifications examples online. Data here is exchanged for a perk and ultimately an endorphin rush. We're just like sort of tying in here to the gambling sort of feeling, the gambling instinct of a lot of folks. You basically give your name and your email, and you try your luck and find out what exact discount, what promotion you're going to get in exchange. And so thinking about how you build gamification is really important. So let's jump into a little bit more like, how do you design an effective value exchange? What are the components? What's important? What's necessary? And here's some best practices that LiveRamp and Bonbon have pulled together. The first one is, clarity. Make the value clear and immediate. Users need to understand what they will receive in return. Simplicity is really key. Reduce friction by asking for minimal upfront information and build trust over time. You always have more chances later on to ask for information by building that trust. Incentives, clearly explain the benefits of opting in, whether those are personalized offers, exclusive access, and then transparency, also really critical. Be upfront about how data will be used, create easy to understand privacy policies. Gamification, adding urgency or excitement by including things like points and leaderboards can be really, really effective. And finally, like let your customers be your biggest advocates. Social proof. Show how many others have benefited from opting in. Quote benefits that your customers have gotten from opting in.
Yeah, and I think for this particular slide, clarity and transparency are probably two of the most important, right? Because consumers are going to share their information in exchange for valuable information on their side. But, they really need to know what is it in it for them, what are they going to get back, and it needs to be clearly stated. So I think of all of these, those two would be absolutely the top pick there.
Yeah. So one thing to really think about is value exchanges don't fit all sites. They don't work for everybody. Like as you as a publisher need to think about what might be most effective for you. And even categories of publishers, different things might work well. Let's just start with like, for example, content publishers. The things that we think work really well for them are things like freemium access, as mentioned, the FT example. You give a tier of service that the users can access for free before you actually hit them with a paywall, or you can create interesting gated areas or gated experiences, VIP experiences that are available. Ad-free experiences can be really effective as well, which is like, hey, if you register, you can reduce your ad load, you can remove ads for a session. One of the things that we've done is we built a product called the ad wall, where we basically allow people to skip videos in exchange for registration. So trying to like reduce the ad friction for those users who care about that, and give them the opportunity to skip ads for registering. Exclusivity, which we've sort of shown examples on this, which is, hey, you only can get this if you register, but whether it's a webinar or exclusive content, et cetera, et cetera. Interactivity gating can be really effective. And this is basically things like, here's a poll. It's a fun poll. Take the poll. If you want to see the answer, you got to like register to see the answer. So there's interesting things can be done in and around interactivity. And then sort of related is community gating, which is, hey, here's a community on the site. You got to register to use a form. Or if you want to comment on this article, here's, we need to authenticate you. And then finally, perks and rewards. And really the idea here is, and the key here is to think about what is the mindset of your user and your reader, and what is a perk or reward that they would value, and how do you connect that user to the reward to put together a really effective value exchange. Moving along here, B2B publishers. The way I think about B2B publishers is like, what access do you have through your daily routine in your business that can be crafted into, what access to data or information can be crafted in the thought leadership? How can you sort of like take unique data, unique information, build thought leadership and put that behind a reg wall? We also know webinars and events can be obviously very effective. On the e-commerce side, discounts and coupons we've seen work really, really well. And then finally, I think less penetration around this notion is product personalization. How do you actually make the consumer experience better through personalization?
So let's talk about what are some of the best practices to enhance these value exchanges. We talked about it a little bit with Andy at the beginning here. No two publishers are the same, and no two value exchanges are the same. So publishers should really prioritize strategies that they think will get them the most traction in the shortest amount of time with the least effort as it relates to authentication. So again, Andy touched on it, but you need to A/B test, you need to test in different regions, you need to try all different types of partners. We on the side here, we have different types of authentication partners. So an open web, a commenting widget, test various types of reg walls, newsletter click-throughs, things like that, that will give you further authentications. And it's really important to, as we also talked about with Andy, to measure that and see what is working and what is not, and then scaling up from there. And you need to have those different strategies so that you can put it all together to create, for you as a publisher, your particular authentication methods and strategies. You can piecemeal them together to know that what exactly works for you.
Yep. And as an entrepreneur, I know my swim lane. We're not the best at every value exchange at Bonbon. There are some fantastic companies out there that do much better things, like Cited does really great polling. Open Web does some great commenting. Pool is a European player who's just really good on the subscription side of the business, et cetera, et cetera. So really think about the right vendor map and explore it for yourself. So let's kind of finish off here with a case study. I want to show you examples of like how some of these were implemented at A360 Media. And so like at a high level, let's just, like the case study basically starts here is, A360 Media implemented LiveRamp's ATS solution in April 2020. They've had a really good, long-standing, successful relationship with LiveRamp. A360 Media had also been investing in a lot of homegrown value exchanges via comprehensive rewards and giveaway program to collect emails. They had an existing program in place. They were giving stuff away. They were trying to like enact these value exchanges. At the end of the day, the program was really expensive to administer, and the data collected was not seamlessly connecting into their ad tech and cookieless stack. The vendors they worked with were not ad tech vendors. They didn't know how to plug things together. And so, A360 was looking for ways to scale the program across all their different properties, something that was like comprehensive. And so, we were brought in to complement LiveRamp and expand and personalize the value exchange across the A360 Media Network. This includes properties you guys know: Women's World, InTouch, Us Weekly, Soap Opera Digest, diverse properties with unique audiences, and then some similarities across them. And so here's some examples of how that program was deployed. This is a view to, Us Weekly, which is their flagship site. We tested dozens of different offers. Like, hey, what are the value exchanges that might work for different audiences across responsive designs, both for pop-outs and inline units? An example here are 2 pop-out units. We also have inline units where the value exchange is kind of embedded in the content of the page. And what we saw is through serial testing lots of stuff, some pockets within tech and luxury where the users were really would be much more willing to engage and register. Even where we did examples here, like a Gucci $1,000 shopping spree, we tested other brands like Fenty and others and did not see the same exact kind of response rate. So what we saw is that it really does matter. The offer does matter pretty significantly. Here's another example from Soap Opera Digest. This is a niche site where they have a very loyal following who's really rabidly enthusiastic about soaps. We tested 2 different dozen offers and found traction strangely with memorabilia of all the things. We did like some soap opera blankets and lots of stuff. And you see here, win a signed soap opera book collection. And this worked like crazy compared to the other offers. I think it nuked everything else by like 4x. And then finally, this is kind of where the program's going. What we're doing here on InTouch is testing and tailored lots and lots of offers to each major content area of the site. So news, true crime, entertainment, style shopping, games, etc. Each of those have their own machine learning experiments running to see which kind of offers are most relevant to the kinds of users who are accessing those sections. And then now we're moving to both the page level targeting. And what we've discovered is context really matters. The context of the offer and the context of the page can have a big impact on response rates. And so let's just jump into the results.
Sorry, Alex.
Yeah.
Can I just real quick? I wanted to just explain something to everyone really quick so they can understand it. So when we talk about how 60 was live with ATS, essentially, they have our tag on page for the authentications that are on the page, and they were seeing a lift and great results. And then they said, hey, we want to increase our first party data strategy. And so they went to Bonbon. And so Bonbon, with these examples that Elliot just took us through, gives you additional authentications on top of what they've already seen. And we can actually calculate out that incremental revenue that the publisher sees because of this additional source of registrations and signups. So I just want to make sure that that was clear to everyone in terms of the lift and how this partnership sort of worked together.
Yep. And so we basically, when we joined, we could sync our data directly in with LiveRamp to generate RampIDs. LiveRamp was already generating really good lift. Most recently, the stats that were pulled were 22% lift in winning bid CPM where the RampID was present. So RampID was already doing great. We got involved, generating more first-party data, and then this kind of results are being seen. We saw boosted registration rates by up as much as 300% with the Bonbon technology, particularly around some of the more niche sites. The more niche the audience, the more niche the offer, the more contextually relevant, the bigger the lift we were able to generate with our technology. And then the other thing is, like, every publisher likes to save money and reduce the operating costs of managing the rewards program by a step function. So that was another benefit. I'd love to open up now to some questions. If folks want to go ahead and jump into the Q&A, we're happy to field some questions there. Anything else you wanted to add, Lucy?
No, I think this was great. Yeah, as I said, I think this is a great example of a value exchange. A360 decided they wanted to, test out something different, and here shows that lift and that incremental revenue that we can drive together through this partnership for them.
Cool.
Great.
All right. And just kind of moving along, just at a really high level, how does this thing work? How do Bonbon and LiveRamp work together? That's basically there's three components to what we do: Open Identity Manager, Rewards Engine, and configurable widgets. The Open Identity Manager is the place where we connect in with LiveRamp. We provide a single sign-on solution, both an account manager in the cloud, and this alternative ID or cookieless ID connector and generator. And then we have connections in ESPs and CDPs. The second layer is a rewards engine, which is a rewards database where there's 200 offers which come bundled in. Extensible points program, we can reward anything you want. Turnkey sweeps, which are compliant with every state and zip. And then contextual AI-powered offer optimization, where you can run lots of experiments. And then there's configurable widgets, front-end tools, where you can interact with consumers, or an API you can build on.